It was very important to President Biden to sit down with President Putin face to face to make absolutely clear that our strong preference is a predictable and stable relationship, that there are areas where we think we can cooperate. But an equally strong part of President Biden's message was to make clear to President Putin what is important to us, what is important to him, and the kinds of costs that there will be if we see more malign activity, more interference in our domestic agenda, etc. So I think the two presidents had a chance to truly understand each other. Now, and we also opened a couple of channels where we're going to test whether this cooperation will be fruitful, particularly in the areas of strategic stability, looking at weapon systems that are destabilizing and how we might work on those, as well as the issue of cybersecurity and ransomware. So we've set up a couple of experts groups now, and we will test whether Russia wants a predictable and stable relationship, whether we can make some agreements on these things. We have significant unused potential if we need to use it to protect ourselves. And so the president wanted that kind of a straight conversation. I think it's not a secret that there is a lot of questioning of whether Russia is ready for this kind of relationship with us, whether it will commit to trying to improve things, but the president is committed to trying, but also profoundly clear that he will protect the American people and he will protect our allies and friends.
Why Minsk agreement somehow read differently by Moscow and in comparison to Ukraine and its Western partners?
I can't speak for how Russia is reading the Minsk agreements. The one thing that I would say is the Minsk agreements are the only piece of paper that we have where President Putin actually committed to getting out of the Donbass. So I think the question becomes, with President Putin now at the summit yesterday, asking the United States to consider becoming involved again as we have been in the past in trying to implement the Minsk agreements, is he serious about actually getting out of Donbass? I think we will start by having some intensive consultations with our Ukrainian partners about how they see Minsk and how they would proceed with implementation, and then we'll test whether we think there's actual ground to become involved, or whether this is just a shield for a frozen conflict in Moscow's eyes. But I think we don't know yet, but we're prepared to test. The sanctions that were imposed on Russia having to do with Ukraine are going to stay in place unless and until Russia changes its behavior towards Ukraine. So the president did articulate Ukraine as an area where we do have profound disagreements with Russia. But as you said, the United States is firmly committed, as we have been for decades now, to the sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of Ukraine. Russia now, in a way that it hasn't for a number of years, confronts a united front of democratic nations demanding civilized behavior vis-a-vis Ukraine, and that gives us a certain strength.